Imagine standing in like a really dense, blinding fog. You're completely disoriented, right? And
Mm.
your natural human instinct is to just run anywhere to escape the discomfort of, well, not knowing where you are. But blind movement isn't direction.
No, you're just moving to relieve the panic.
Exactly. So today on this deep dive, we are unpacking that exact feeling through the lens of some really fascinating materials from FaithFlow Rooted Ministry. Specifically, we're looking at their books, Decisions with Clarity and Rooted in Revelation.
Which are so helpful for this specific issue.
They really are. Our mission today is to analyze how these sources tackle a heavy, almost paralyzing question that you probably ask yourself whenever you're carrying a lot of responsibility. You know, that moment where you hit a wall and ask, how do I know if this is God leading or just me?
Yeah, and that fog analogy you use perfectly captures what the authors describe as the hidden weight. Because when thoughtful, capable people who manage teams or families hit a wall, they often mistake their confusion for a lack of faith.
Oh, right. You just end up feeling guilty on top of everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the sources point out this underlying reality. When you are carrying quiet burnout, you're stretched so thin that, well, cognitive overload kicks in. You start craving immediate closure just to relieve the immense mental pressure of the unknown.
So it's not a spiritual failing at all. It's essentially our system screaming at us to solve the problem so we can put down the weight.
Right.
I mean, we default to our own urgency because sitting with the unknown feels dangerous when we're already exhausted.
Yeah. The materials argue that in this state of exhaustion, we just lose touch with the sustainable way we were designed to operate. I mean, culture tells you to decide fast, to hack your way out of the fog.
Just push through.
Right. But the spiritual discernment outlined in these FaithFlow texts suggests the exact opposite. God's direction doesn't shout to compete with your anxiety. It whispers.
Okay, but wait. I have to challenge the practicality of that a bit. I mean, it's easy for a book to say, wait for the whisper, right? But let's talk about real life. Like, if a campaign demand just drops in your lap or a major team project completely stalls out, people are staring at you waiting for an answer. So sitting in stillness feels actively irresponsible. How do these sources balance waiting for divine peace with, like, actual ticking deadlines?
That is a great question. And the authors actually address that tension by focusing on the underlying driver of your choice, rather than just the timeline. They point to that biblical principle found in James chapter 1, verse 5.
Oh, about God giving wisdom generously.
Yes, but they really emphasize the mechanism of testing the fruit of your impulse. Like, are you making a decision because it brings a sense of calm conviction? Or are you rushing because you're terrified of losing control or maybe looking incompetent to your team?
Wow, so it's really an audit of the emotion behind the action.
Exactly.
If my drive to fix the problem is fueled by panic or pride, that's self-reliance. But if it's driven by a steady, clear-headed humility, that's spiritual leading.
And that is the core message they explore in Decisions with Clarity. It's not about overanalyzing every single email you send. It's about recognizing that believers are designed to lead from a place of fullness. If you let fear drive, you lead from exhaustion.
That makes total sense.
And the companion resource, Rooted in Revelation, it builds on this by encouraging a literal practice of pausing before you plan. The goal is to replace the illusion that you can control everything with the actual practice of spiritual listening.
Mechanically, that makes so much sense. By forcing a pause, you disrupt that stress response we talked about earlier. You give your brain and your spirit a moment to actually synthesize what's happening.
Yes. And the texts normalize that this kind of wisdom, it isn't a one-time download you get during a crisis. It's a slow daily practice. They actually reference Isaiah chapter 30, verse 21.
The promise of hearing a quiet word behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it.
Walk in it, yeah. And for those navigating these heavy decisions, FaithFlow Rooted Ministry presents itself as a space to slowly cultivate that dependence alongside others. There's no demand for an instant fix, because true clarity requires peace, not pressure.
It certainly takes the pressure off to realize you don't have to have it all figured out the second the fog rolls in.
You really don't.
Well, let's leave you with something to chew on that spins right off this idea. We've talked a lot about the anxiety of not having an answer. But what if that frustrating silence, that dense fog where you can't figure out the next step, what if it isn't a problem to be solved at all?
Oh, that's a good shift.
Right. What if the delay is actually an intentional protection, keeping you from rushing down a path you simply aren't ready for yet?